Good morning, everyone. We have a special guest with us today. We have Darcy Butkus, and she's known as Inspector Bark. Welcome, Darcy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
And
Nice to have
good morning, Gaetan. Good morning, Roman. As usual, here we are with a wonderful show.
Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, we brought Darcy on board because the main thing is that what we want to do is, Darcy is somebody that I met actually on the internet. I saw a post. Actually, here's the post. I'm going to show this to you. I saw this post, and it was about Pet Rescue Report, and it was about identifying some abuses that happen in the industry. Here we go. I warned everybody that my dog was going to be barking, and sure enough, there he went. I live in the bark house, you know. Yeah, so there we go. Well, anyway, I saw this thing, and I thought, oh my gosh, here's this woman that is like a soul sister. She goes and she helps animals that are in distress, and she also goes and finds out organizations that are not either collecting the money properly from donations or are in the puppy mill area abusing the dog. So what her motto is really, let's cover the back of the dog. So we wanted to bring Darcy on so that she could explain what it is that she does and why she does it. And I might want to add that here's a woman after my own heart. She doesn't care about getting the arrows in her back. She doesn't care about people that were going to say, boy, Darcy, you didn't do this right, you didn't do that right. What she cares about is knowing that a dog is going to be treated properly no matter what, as long as they're on her watch. But because she's now has the credentials behind her, she has the ability to make a difference. And that's why we want to share what she does on this show. I see we've got a few people here. Let me just say, okay, good morning. Good morning, Dale. Thanks for watching. Okay. Hi, Muka. Nice to see you again. Okay, so let's talk. Hey, Darcy, welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us about why you got involved with this. First off, who are you? And then why did you get involved with Inspector Bark?
Well, who am I? I am just a person that loves animals, and I love dogs. I love cats. I have 2 dogs of my own. I call them my co-producers of the show, Ricky and Lucy. I didn't know about rescue. I didn't know anything about dog rescue operations. Going back 12 years ago, I discovered when I went to volunteer for a rescue operation down in Davie, Florida, outside of Fort Lauderdale. And I realized rather quickly that this woman was really not rescuing these dogs, but using them as financial pawns and preying upon the general public, the innocent general public, that she was saving these dogs from death row. They were going to be dead any minute, but she had to go ahead and save them. In order to save them, she needed what? Donations. So I quickly discovered that she wasn't registered with the state of Florida to solicit for donations. She wasn't a 501c3, which is a tax write-off. And when I did discover this, and others as well, we went to the proper authorities. Well, with that, as it's mentioned in that article, Kathy, how you found me, she wanted to shut us up. And in order to do that, she used most likely donation dollars meant for the animals and attempted to try to sue us in Broward County. of which she went after me personally, because at that time I was the main administrator of a Facebook page. So that made me open my eyes up even wider and started seeing that it wasn't just her in the South Florida area. It was really nationwide. And I always say that we are dealing with a pandemic, not only in this country, but in the world. But we're also dealing with an epidemic, and that is of people using and abusing the backs of animals to profit off of.
Amen. Yes. Yes, absolutely. So when you, I'm going to put this over like this so that we can. So when you started, what made you go into being an inspector? Because I know you were an inspector for 2 years as an apprentice, and then you've got your own agency now. So why did you do that?
So at the ripe old age of 54, I decided to study to become a private investigator. I'm now 59 years old. It could have even been 53. I studied online. I loved the course because I felt that becoming a private investigator would give me a little bit more credibility when you speak to local law enforcement, animal control officers, dealing with state officials, as well as federal. I didn't want to be depicted as some crazy dog person.
Dog lady.
Yeah.
Because I mainly on dogs. I decided to study. I became licensed. You do have to study under another detective agency umbrella here in the state of Georgia for 2 years, like you said, in apprenticeship. Also in the state of Florida, you have to. After that time is up, you have to then submit a bunch of documents to the Secretary of State here in Georgia, and you also have to take a state exam, which was very hard, very difficult. I passed, and as of October of 2020, I own my own detective agency, which is called Inspector Bark.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. So I have been really investigating so-called rescues for 12 years. I've been licensed as a PI for going on 5 years. June will be 5 years. And my own detective agency just as of October of 2020.
Okay, so now I know that Roman's itching to ask a question. What do you want to ask, Roman? I can see that.
I really appreciate that you grabbed the problem by the tail. And dealing with rescues, from my experience, you're dealing with people who are very difficult to handle because there's so much passion behind that. And people do things they believe is perfectly fine. They excuse their methods and excuse for the name of saving a dog, no matter the cost, which usually their people have to pay by donations. I witnessed by accident a rescue in Connecticut who got millions of dollars donations and basically abused dog in their own home to the point of legal consequences and arrests. And it's really a very, very dangerous area. And I really appreciate you for having the guts to do this, because it's a front line where you're constantly being attacked and you have no clue where it's coming from, because it's going to come from everywhere. Personal attacks, Facebook attacks, YouTube attacks, people basically threatening you because the people who you're dealing with have no scruple. I don't know how you call it in English.
Yes.
They have
Scruples, yeah.
right? They don't
Yes.
care about you. They only care about how they feel good. And these situations are basically not healthy.
Roman, I'm sorry, go ahead, Kathy.
No, go ahead.
I want to piggyback on what you said, Roman, and you're absolutely right. A lot of these people are truly passionate, but I believe in looking at the ones that we have studied and researched and investigated, and there are other people that do the same as I do. We do this all on our own time and dime and invest plenty of hours for these animals that have no voice. What I'm seeing personally is a lot of these questionable rescues. The founders, a lot of them do not work. They have no job outside of this rescue. They also, a lot of them, have interesting backgrounds. Several we see have liens, foreclosures, judgments against them, evictions, bankruptcies, and even, yes, crimes that they've committed. These are not good people, and they have figured out a way to jump on the bandwagon to use these animals to personally, financially benefit off of. These people, in my opinion, need to be exposed. I also blame the IRS, because the IRS are the ones that give out the 501c3 nonprofit status. I always say every Tom, Dick, and Harry can get a 501c3 status. Here's the kicker. They're not regulated. These rescues are not regulated anywhere in our country. So when they say they have to be transparent, who's gonna follow through with that? We
You
need
know,
an
you are
oversight
so
commission.
right. Yeah, you are I didn't mean to interrupt you on that, but yes, you are so right, Darcy, because there are a lot of good rescues out there. There's a lot of good shelters, a lot of good rescues. So we're not stereotyping and trying to say that all rescues are bad. Please don't misconstrue this. What Darcy is really saying is that she's been able to pinpoint those that are doing real damage, real hurt. And if that's the case, then something needs to be done. And you can't get it done by typical legislation in a particular state or or a county or a city. It can't be done because there's no laws. So what she does is she comes and she exposes them. And with that exposure comes a lot of people coming forward and saying, what do you mean? What do you mean? I've been dealing with this organization for years and they wouldn't do that. But yes, in fact, they are, because data doesn't lie. Data doesn't lie. You put the data in front of somebody and there it is. But the people that are the supporters are saying, I don't know anything about it. You have to prove it to me. So Darcy says, well, okay, let me prove it to you. Here's the deal. Here's the proof. And once that is there, then that's when the poop hits the fan. You know what word I wanted to say.
You know, the famous line is, the hardest pill to swallow is the truth.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you try to explain to these people and you show them the evidence, you're raining on their parade. You're distorting their illusion. So nobody wants to be told they've been scammed, but they've been scammed. I mean, I deal with rescues that people come to me about all over the country. The Facebook page, as we discussed, they just changed the page. The bad and the ugly in the world of pets. Almost 12,000 followers. And I really encourage your followers to jump on Facebook and like the page. Again, it's called The Bad and the Ugly in the World of Pets.
Yeah, actually, I got it here, Darcy.
Thank you.
The Bad and the Ugly. Here it is. And I'll put a link in the description for everybody.
Thank you. In addition to Inspector Bark, my Facebook page, but this page primarily deals with a lot of people that come forward that wish to remain anonymous. Even in the private message, it will say anything in a private message is strictly confidential because we want to protect the whistleblowers. They're afraid to come forward.
Well, you know, Darcy, I got to ask you a question on that, because I would imagine that the whistleblowers that do come forward, they get pressure on them and then they back out.
That's correct.
Is that the case or not?
Many times, many times. Not only do they get threatened with, I'm going to sue you, I'm going to contact my lawyer's looking at this post, this conversation on Facebook, not only legal ramifications, but they get threatened, they get harassed, they get bullied, and they get intimidated. They've attempted, and I'm going to say attempted, to do that to me. I guess you could say I have a spine. My girlfriend tells me I have a spine made of titanium. I have broad shoulders and a big mouth to blow that whistle. And we need more people to come forward. But more importantly, we really need people to come forward to help fund my mission and my cause. And I know we're going to get to that, Kathy, because we do need organizations, companies that truly, truly love animals. Any company that manufactures, whether it's dog and cat food, toys for the animals, equipment for the dogs, any company, call it Chewy.com, Blue Buffalo, Purina, those are potential clients that we could really partner with.
Right, right. Well, you know, Gaetan, I see you sitting there smiling because I know Gaetan so well because he's been a lifelong friend, but I can see he does not like injustice. And I'm certain you're sitting there thinking, well, thank God there's somebody like Darcy, aren't you?
Absolutely. And when you describe yourself, Darcy, I say, well, you're from Chicago, definitively. Big shoulder, ready to go, thick spine. So tell me one case you came across and that was like eye opening for you.
I think what was eye opening for me is how vicious these people really are. And they all seem to be in the same circle, like the circle of how to scam the general public and how to intimidate them. I was accused of stalking a rescue down in Southeast Florida, Palm Beach County. I was already residing here in North Georgia, 752 miles away. But she went into the court of law in West Palm Beach and accused me of stalking, was trying to get a temporary restraining order on me. Some states call it a TPO, temporary protective order. When I read what she was accusing me of, my jaw dropped because I thought, how can you go into the court of law and literally lie, sign your name, and get away with it? Not only did she do that in 2016, she attempted to do it again in 2018, of which, thank God, I have great legal representation that was covered through my insurance company, and they covered my cost of my lawyers. I had to fly down there because the judge said, he better protect, the judge is saying, I better protect my own rear end, and I better have this person come down. It was an eye-opener that how she literally lied, said that I was driving by her rescue and that I was going to kill myself and therefore I was going to kill her. People believe they are like sheep. Prove it. And that's where I find that the public, sadly, is so gullible and they need to do their own homework and their due diligence. Mm-hmm. I've had another situation, what occurred with these, I call them illegal underground dog trafficking operations. If you all remember, last May, we had 48 dogs that took off from Arizona in the back of a U-Haul. Think of a U-Haul that you use for your kids to go to college. Closed in, back door, I think it was 23 cubic feet. 48 dogs were stuffed, crammed, and shoved in the back of a U-Haul from Arizona going to Canada. Most of these people that are illegal, they are not certified by the USDA, which you need to be if you're crossing state lines. So it's an illegal underground dog trafficking operation, almost like child sex trafficking. And they're against time because they want to get there, unload these dogs in Canada. But what happened in the middle of the night in Idaho is they crashed. 23 or 26 dogs died on impact. When the troopers showed up, there were body parts of these animals all over the highway. That's unacceptable. And you tell me, do the math. People, and people, again, they believe it. Oh, well, they stop every 3 to 4 hours. Figure the math. How are they going to unload 48 dogs when there's just 2 people driving? How are you going to unload? Right. So they're not. These poor dogs suffer from stress. They have seizures. They're pooping and urinating on each other. This is not the only one. But who do we get to stop this madness? And that's where local officials blame the federal officials, federal blame state, and it's just a name, game, blame game begins. Pointing fingers.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing that I think is most important more than anything is who's going to do it. We all can voice our opinion. We all can come forward, but people like you, Darcy, where you're willing to take those arrows in your back, we applaud you for that. As a matter of fact, Coco always has something wonderful to say. Here he says, When there is the opportunity for donations and financial gain, fraud is possible and someone will do what they can to take advantage. Darcy is doing great work to eliminate the fraudsters who are using truly sad stories and exploiting animals and the kindness of strangers for their own selfish gains. I'm glad there are watchdog groups and investigators weeding these people out so there is more certainty for people who want to give to legitimate rescues. We'll see now when oh here Cheryl says this is making me cry. This is awful. Yeah. Well, when you see that I so many times, especially in the area that I'm living in right now, we have a shelter that we question all the time about how are they running things, and every time it happens, it's like you want to just like, oh my gosh, but nothing gets done. Nothing gets done. The only thing you could do is talk about it because you don't have. What are you going to do? That's what I really want to find out. What is it you're doing, Darcy? And I know you get all these arrows, but give us a specific of what you just recently did that helped the most. Am I saying this right? Or Roman, what is it we want to know?
I want to know how can I help? I know how I can help, but I am whoever watching this right now. How can I be part of your support team?
Thank you, Roman. And first of all, I want to address Coco and Cheryl. Coco, thank you so much. That was really well written, and you are so right. And Cheryl, it is sad. It is sad what's happening. But I've learned to take the emotions out of it, because if I do get emotionally upset, and trust me, I see stuff every day, morning, noon, and night, and you do have to take a break because it can wear on you. It wore on me over 8 years ago, where I had suffered from sleep deprivation. I was starting my own podcast show, Inspector Bark. I was exposing that bad rescue that I first found out about 12 years ago, as well as a very bad boarding facility for animals. I couldn't sleep. I was exposing them. They contacted my husband at work to try to get me to back off. And this is a very common thing they do. Mm-hmm. I'm married, so they figured, okay, my husband wears the pants in the family. Let's call him at work. Very common tactic they use. It didn't work. But it bothered me that I couldn't share it with my husband. I did not sleep for 5 nights. And I did have a sleep deprivation episode, which put me in the hospital. And all because I'm fighting for these animals. So, Cheryl, I get what you're saying. I want to go back to something, and I'll address Roman about that. You know, you always hear somebody say, it's always written, somebody should do something. You agree? Yeah. Somebody should do that something. And I wrote this down because I heard this the other day, and I always write in my phone. It's always near me. Somebody should do something. And the quote back is, you are the someone that has to do it. Don't put it on somebody else's shoulders. We need an army. We need a team. And Roman, this is where I tell people on different pages. Another page, I believe I spoke to Kathy about, is a page you have to be invited to, folks, on Facebook. This one is a great one that she's showing right now. This is a page that you can like. Guard Dog, excellent. They work hand in hand with the bad and ugly in the world of pets. There's a third one called Scam Rescues on Facebook. That is a page, as Kathy knows, you have to be invited in. The admin is dynamite, and I hope you do have her on the show. Her name is Joanne Euler. So let me get back to what we need here. And I will say many times on these posts, help us help these animals. Power in numbers, people. If you're afraid to come forward because you're alone, you're not alone. We're here to help you. There are other people, the admins over at Guard Dog USA, the people that work on their own time, whether they're retired, working people, they want to help. Letters constantly need to be written to local, state, and federal officials. And I always tell people, you copy everybody. Don't just copy that one individual. And I'll tell you what happened with that, Roman. I sent a scathing email to the Inspector General here in my state of Georgia, who works for the Commissioner of the Department of Agriculture. Our commissioner here in Georgia is named Gary Black. The inspector that works for him is Gary Kelly. I know it's confusing, a lot of Garys. Whistleblowers came to me over a year ago. about a situation down near Savannah, Georgia. Savannah, Georgia is near Florida. It's a rescue, so they say. I believe it's a puppy mill in disguise. Now, here's what's interesting. Shelters, breeders, and rescues are all inspected and licensed by the Department of Ag. We had an incident here in 2019. The first quarter wasn't even over yet. And we had over 1,200 dogs extracted and seized from 3 licensed breeders in 4 different counties. They kept giving those breeders, puppy mill operators, a lifeline. They kept extending the lifeline to get them into compliance. 9 out of 10 times, you study the reports, which are all public information, it's almost like these inspectors go off the same template. The fire extinguisher is in the right place. The license is in the right place. Well, what about the animals? It's like they walk by with blinders on and they don't look at the animals. If you saw what these animals look like coming off of these properties, well, social media won. Because I pulled all the records out of one case, which was in Berrien County, Georgia, South Georgia, where he was supposed to reduce his inventory from 450 dogs down to 100. Every 30 days in May of 2018 to the end of 2018, the inspector wrote, I will be back every 30 days to make sure you reduce your inventory. When did the supervisor return? Take a guess. I'll give you that answer.
No idea.
Because remember, the first quarter of 2019, in February of 2019, 9 months later, and guess how many the breeder had? 750 dogs.
Oh my goodness.
They came out looking like those old rags that people would mop their floor with. Awful. So people, puppy mills are horrible. My question is, each state has an HSUS state director, Humane Society United States. I question where my state representative is. And now, it is now 2021, I'm still waiting from the Georgia Department of Ag's audit from that situation to come out from 2019. So, a month ago, a situation occurred where 74 dogs and cats were removed from one county. The woman was charged with animal cruelty, 74 counts, in a county called Candler County. A very, very excellent sheriff works there. I know him. I met him. Those dogs and cats, he had 3 reputable organizations set up to take those animals. She dug her heels in, the owner, a 61-year-old woman, and instead of giving them to the sheriff, they went to the questionable rescue in Savannah, Georgia. So with that, I sent a scathing email to Inspector Gary Kelly, and I copied 30 or 40 people. One was a reporter from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, the biggest newspaper in print and on the internet here in the state. She reached out to me 2 weeks after that incident, and I believe we're going to be seeing a story in the next 3 to 4 days.
Oh, yay.
A lack of accountability. Stop turning a blind eye. These animals need us, and when you are a government employee who works for the Companion Animal Division of the state of Georgia, even the inspection reports, people say protection inspection report. How are you protecting these animals? You're protecting the person that has violated time and time again. But if you are an inspector that possibly is covering up for that person, they'll try to put that person back into compliance. But meanwhile, where's the lifeline for those animals?
Yeah, you know, that is a good point. And I think that when we look at some of these rescues, they become overwhelmed. Rather than having a system in place that works well with people that are there, they rely upon volunteers who many times you can't have a volunteer system or a foster system that is 100% compliant with what you're doing because they're not being paid. for what they're doing. So I think the shelters and the rescues get overwhelmed and they take on too much and then they try and cut corners. And the best way to cut corners is to let the animals suffer. God forbid I should not, I should go with not having my salary. Yeah, go ahead, Roman.
Well, if we look at the whole overview, the reason why Inspector Bark is so busy is because we have lack of education.
Mm-hmm.
If I would be a dog person who would know about those things and know how to vet those differences, because spending money on a rescue versus spending money on a rescue, how can you make a difference between an apple and an apple if you cannot look inside? So, and we don't have a regulatory system because we don't demand one. Because we don't know that we need to demand one, because we have no clue how to do that.
Right.
So basically we have this, let's call it blindlessness. We just don't want to see it.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't want to see the ugly ones. We're not the best on Facebook stuff because if it hits our door, then it hurts. And we go into denialism. No, that cannot be true. No way people would do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just shut it off. But the reality is, it's in front of your house. It passes your street every day and you don't actually see it. That dog walker, that dog trainer, that dog person, that pet store, that groomer, all these people are basically unregulated. And all these people are supporting that system because somebody wants a dog.
Right.
And if you're a good person and you go to a good rescue and the rescue says, well, you don't have a 6-foot fence, I don't give you a dog. Don't worry about that. I give Frank a call. He gets me a dog in a day, delivered in my house, free of charge.
Right.
See, goodbye rescue, welcome breeder, backyard breeder, the bad guys, not the good guys, right? But it's a whole system that feeds itself until somebody starts cutting the heads off.
Right.
And then this person will be burned. Why? Because it doesn't have the support.
Plus the fact there's no transparency. You know, we talk about that. One of the requirements of a rescue or a shelter is to be transparent, be transparent. But when you personally know the real truth, and then let's say you look at their annual report and you see the annual report is filled with bogus lies, why is it that we don't call them on it? Why is it we don't come forward and say, hey, this is BS?
Well,
You know?
here's what I'd like to say. The IRS is the only one that can revoke the 501c3, okay? And some of these big box rescues are pulling in a lot of money. We're talking $1 to $2 to $3 million a year. And that's where folks don't understand that. Again, that's all public record. And if you dissect some of these IRS tax returns, it's shocking that they're getting away with what they're getting. But until we make the IRS aware, and let's face it, they'll say the same thing as other agencies say, we're overworked and we don't have enough people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so is that an excuse to let these dogs suffer?
Right, right.
Is it an excuse to allow these people to scam the innocent population that all they want to do is dig deep in their pocket? And you'll find a lot of these people are on fixed incomes, Social Security, Medicare, but they'll take their last $5 to help that animal in need.
Mm-hmm. But if they don't know that that money is not going to help that animal, that's where the rub comes in. Mm-hmm. All of us believe, I truly think so, all of us believe that if we're putting money in to help that animal, that it's going to go to that animal, but we never get a report that tells us here's where your donation dollars went. That's what I want to see. Where did my donation dollar, did it really help that dog, or did it go to pay for the trip to Aruba for the executives, or to pay for their car payment or their whatever? You know, the team that you have, and I want to ask you about this too, Darcy, the team you have is important, because if you're doing this all alone, you get nowhere. So you must have a fantastic team that you're working with.
Well, I'd like to say we're all on the same page when it comes to the animals, okay? And we've got a group working that are dealing with one situation where dogs are being sent from Texas to Long Island. So those people are the whistleblowers that are handling that. But because I am so busy building up my own detective agency, and I do have private pay customers, I have attorneys that I'm now slowly, getting work. I have to pay my own bills. I have to, because as much as I love doing this for the
Get the
animals,
501c3, rescue a couple of dogs, got police break. Don't worry about it, honey.
yeah,
Wait a minute. What did you say? What?
I know.
What
Say
did
it
you
again,
say?
funny.
Roman.
Okay.
He said, get yourself a 501c3 and then just market dogs. And I said that to one of the other people that also take on a lot on her own time and dime. I said, if we could put our head on our pillow at night, this would be the easiest thing to do, is scam people, because they fall for it. And the more goriest of pictures of that dog, and I'm seeing this happen more and more. It's like called
Yeah.
dog porn. She referred to it as dog porn. The people just start throwing money at these so-called rescues, and it makes me sick. But if I could go to bed and not worry about scamming people, that's not me. I have scruples, I have integrity, I have morals, and I know who I am. I am on the side of the animals. But I will say one thing, going back to what you said earlier, Kathy, where they get in over their head, they're overwhelmed. You will hear that same old expression over and over again, where they say, when they started, it was with good intentions. How many times have you seen that? Where you've seen a rescue turned hoarder? Oh, we knew about it, but we just didn't, say anything. Shame on you. Shame on
Yeah.
you. These animals need your help. But because I believe some people are afraid, I believe that there's some people that have more of a fragile personality. They're going through maybe personal issues. They don't want to take on this type of task. But I'm tired of hearing that. Oh, well, when they first started out, they had great intentions. I don't want to hear that anymore. These animals are suffering, and we're seeing it more and more. I would like to get funding. This is what my goal is. I'd like to get funding to have sit in the first bucket that we have money set aside for our whistleblowers to get legal representation. So not even have the money sitting there. If I have law firms that come forward, or a company, or a wealthy individual that says, I'll fund, I want to keep them anonymous, and I will not, hear me out, I will never ever become a 501c3, because you have to be transparent. I don't want people to know where that money's coming from, because I need to protect their identity. What if it's a Subaru dealership? Think of their commercials. They have the dogs driving the cars. They love animals. They know that attracts people's attention. What if they came forward and said, we want to help. What can we do? I would never disclose that, because of the fact they would come under fire. You will always have opposition, people. Even if I tell you the sky is blue, somebody's going to say, not really, Darcy. There's a cloud 5 miles away.
You're not in California. It's not so blue.
Yeah, it's probably green or brown.
Yeah. Right.
But you're always going to have opposition, as
Yeah.
much as you provide the truth and the facts and the evidence. But if I do and run with that person who comes forward and they provide me with excellent proof, then I would say to them, don't worry, Mary Smith, we've got you covered. We're going to expose this rescue for what they are, because we've got legal funding for you. That's my first request and my first hope.
I have a question, because it's always the same problem when we save a child from a family of an abuse situation. We save a dog from an abuse situation, from an abuse rescue. So we go to a rescue who has a 50 dog hoarding situation, and we have to find those dogs now a home. Here's my weird question. I'm kind of like coming from a different perspective, and says, you know what? I'm kind of with the other side, guys. Okay, you're going to take that rescue down that saves dogs and take money, and at least it's in a hoarding situation, but obviously they have a home, and now we put them in the shelters and we put to sleep. How do we deal with that?
That is an excellent question, and that's a lot of debate and a lot of passion comes out of people. I believe if a dog, in my opinion, if a dog is kept in a crate 24/7, piled high, like as you walk in a Costco or a BJ's, and that dog is up on a crate, 3-4 crates high, or in a dark cellar all by itself, is that a life for an animal? Is that
Yeah.
a life for an animal? And what happens, they become kennel crazed. And they are so far beyond being helped. And that's the situation I was telling before we went on the air about the North Carolina situation. These dogs, in my opinion, are being so tormented because there are individuals that enjoy seeing animals suffer. That's why we have dog fighting. That's why we have cockfighting. These people enjoy the thrill of seeing an innocent animal suffer. With
And
that
that
being
happened.
said, with that being said, if these dogs have been evaluated and are deemed so far aggressive that they're dangerous to society, to other dogs and to humans, in my opinion, that dog should be put down humanely. No dog, no animal should ever have to live in a cage for the rest of his life. I always say, how would you like it if you had to be stuck in a cage for the rest of your life? So that is a very touchy situation, Roman. Very, very excellent question. And that's what concerns these people, that now 50 is nothing. Think about 100. Think about 150. Not even if the dogs are all okay, they just need medical treatment. They need grooming. Who cleans up the mess? Other rescues come in, just like they did in the first quarter of 2019 here in the state of Georgia. Department of Ag didn't close down those rescues, those shelters. It was whistleblowers that came forward. And then rescues came from everywhere. Hopefully, most of them were reputable. And now what do
Right.
they have to do? They have to solicit for donations. The Georgia Department of Ag, they walk away hands-free. And that's what they're dealing with right now. They don't want to take on this mission. I think personally, they don't know how to take it on. They don't want to reach out. The good news is, whether you like PETA or not, they wrote a letter to the Georgia Department of Ag and said, what's going on? We're seeing all these animals being taken to one location. You're going to have another case like you did in Berrien County with 750 dogs.
Well, it goes back to what Roman was asking, what is it that we can do? Because if people don't know and they don't really realize, and the only thing they see is what's on social media and they don't know what's going on behind the scenes, they're going to take it for what it's worth, and people are very good at hiding what the real truth is because they don't want people to know. That's why there should be transparency. But in terms of, well, wait a minute here. Coco has two different things here. Let's look at this. Coco says, good intentions or not, if they prove to be inept, meaning the rescues, animals will suffer. We have to eliminate that no matter how good the intentions are, whether willful neglect or accidental neglect, and abuse is neglect
Yeah.
and abuse.
Yeah. Very good,
And
Coco. Excellent.
and he also writes, if there is a good rescue by relocation setup, which is what Barkhouse is, and that's where Coco is from, those numbers of animals could be sent to locations across the U.S. where rehabilitation and rehoming is possible. See, now that's a solution. That's the solution. So what do you do with these animals so that people like you, not that I want to put you out of business, Darcy, but we would love to see that no animals are being mistreated. Someone like Roman is looking at, let's look at the behavior of the dog. Is it really the dog, or is it the behavior of the person that causes the dog to act that way? The dog shouldn't have to be put down if there is a resource available and a training and education and something. But a lot of people can't do that. My God, we've got a shelter here that doesn't even think twice about euthanizing for food aggression. Well, hell, the dog is starving. It was living in the streets. Now it's coming into a facility, doesn't know anybody. They're in a cage with another dog. Of course they're going to be food aggressive, but does that mean you should shoot them and kill them? Excuse me.
Darcy, I need an action button. I need to want to push that button so I can do something.
Yeah, I love
Give me
that,
that
Roman.
button.
I love that, Roman. This is what I want people to do. Please, please go on Facebook and immediately go and like the bad and the ugly in the world of pets. I
I'm
help
doing
hold
it right
that
now
page.
as we speak. Hold on.
The bad, the and symbol.
Yeah,
the bad.
I put the link in the description. I mean, in the comments, folks.
Yeah.
Like it, people, and follow it. We provide facts, evidence, documents, and I am one of the main admins on that page. I have been for years. I'll admit to it. If you want to sue me, because anybody can sue anybody. We live in a very litigious environment, which is sad. But keep in mind, those rescues that are spending money on frivolous lawsuits, that money is coming from donation dollars meant for the dogs. And I'm currently in a lawsuit right now that's going on 4 years because I posted a 172-page document, Freedom of Information Act, regarding a rescue down in South Florida that the investigator sat in my own home 6 years ago, I think it was, when I was still living in South Florida. I've been here for 5. And they determined after an 18-month investigation, 18 months, that this particular rescue spent over $100,000 on manicures, pedicures, lunch, breakfast, dinner out,
Right.
bought themselves a mattress. That money wasn't meant. I love getting my nails done. I pay for that myself. And then the Florida Department of Ag came down hard and did fine them $5,000. Apparently, from what I've been told, and I heard it from the horse's mouth herself through the deposition, that apparently the IRS is investigating them. Because remember, the IRS issues the 501c3, and the IRS are the only ones that can revoke it. And they need to start doing some revoking. Because
Okay.
there's going on in this country.
So
I also urge clients and followers, that's what I was just going to get to. Email me, people, info@inspectorbark.com.
okay.
Send a private message to my Inspector Bark Facebook page. Your best way to be totally confidential, totally anonymous, is send me an email, which is info@inspectorbark.com. Because other people read the private messages on the Bad and Ugly page as well as on my Inspector Bark. So sending to me strictly through email, again, is info@inspectorbark.com.
Okay.
Thank you for the work you're doing, by the way.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Gatan. I appreciate that.
It's nice to have you on the show today.
Well, thank you. And I'd love to come on again. And I encourage you to reach out to the other ones that are doing such a great job in exposing, I call it the riffraff and rescue, because that's what I think they are.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Closing thoughts, you guys.
I think about the UL story, and they have how many dogs were there? Like 40 something dogs in the UL.
48.
48.
48.
So 48 dogs. Maybe they get $50 per dog. That's
More.
25 more, much more than that.
Let's figure at least, I think, between 100 and 200. Don't quote me, but it's this is an underground dog trafficking operation. So I'm going to say, let's do 100.
Okay, just for the conversation, $4,800 of revenue, and dogs lost, time lost. If you're a criminal, try another job, please. Instead of trafficking dog, you won't get a good paycheck out of it. Think about other crime. Stay away from the dog, please.
Right. Yeah. Before we go, Coco had another comment here. Thank you so much, Coco. Really appreciate it. He says, thank you for being an ally to legitimate rescues and the humane treatment of animals. It's not always enough to try to ensure happier outcomes for these animals. Sometimes you have to get your hands dirty and go after the abusers to hold them accountable. It takes guts. I applaud your work and commitment to animals. Thank you for all you do and fighting the good fight. Yeah, Darcy, when we look at what you've done, very commendable, but it bothers me that you're doing it alone. So I know you want to reach out to sponsors and you want to reach out to people, but you still need people that are going to help you.
I know.
If they're not there to help you, all the money in the world doesn't do anything because you can only do so much.
I know.
You
But
know?
as Roman said earlier, or Gaston, about the volunteers are just volunteers. If they don't feel like waking up in the morning and they don't want to help write an email, you can't force them to. I would
Right.
love to be that person that won the Mega Million jackpot a few weeks back, and she cleared $711 million. I think she was out of one big Powerball winner won 2 days before, like 500 million, and the next one won 711, cleared. My dream is to create a task force throughout the country and hire lobbyists. But we need funding. We need money. Volunteers, if they get paid, they're going to have to come to work, right? They're getting
Right.
paid. But a
Yeah.
volunteer, I don't feel like doing it. So
Yeah.
it's very frustrating. It's
Yeah.
frustrating. And there's a few of us. I can only count on one hand, truthfully. But if we could get funding, somebody that sees the good that we do, and I would open up my books to them to show them. I do this morning, noon, and night. I live, breathe, and eat this. But now, because of my detective agency, I am getting some consulting work. I've taken money out of my own personal 401k. I've taken money out of my own personal 401k, and I am not 59 and a half yet. I just turned 59 on Valentine's Day. So I got whacked, thank God during COVID, you don't get whacked with the penalty, but I still have to pay taxes on that. But that's okay, because I do feel somebody of a higher power is looking down at me. And just remember this in closing: God spelled backwards is dark.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Closing thoughts here, guys. Roman?
I know what to do. I will dedicate one page on my website talking about Inspector Bark and give some call to actions buttons. Do this. Copy that email, send it to your legislator. If you see something, click that button, let these people know. Because it's not just the small people do things, the big people do too. I know many
Right.
organizations who come with fear porn and grab your money. And I was like, wait a minute, this little dog, this surgery costs like $3,000. Why do you need $15,000 for it? Just because you're a big company, you distribute them. How about you sell one of your planes?
Mm-hmm.
Pay for all the
Right.
bills.
Right.
I'm just no, okay. However, I so appreciate Inspector Bark, Daisy, for doing what you do, and I feel the need to support you. I'll find a way here and there. I'll get it done. That's my part.
That's what I told her, that we're all here to help her. Yeah. And
Thank you.
Coco says every rescue should dedicate some space to organizations like this. This is a major help in our collective effort. Absolutely, Coco. I see this as part of Bark House too in some way. Yeah. Okay,
Stay on the
Gaetan.
up and up. Stay on the up and up, reputable rescues. Stay on the up and up.
Yeah.
Get her a TV show.
I
What?
would love that.
Action.
Yeah.
You want action?
There you
Follow-
go, Gaetan.
Yeah.
Gaetan,
Yes.
this could go into the show.
It's the Good Dog Day Show. It's a content for the Good Dog Day Show. One of the things came to my mind by listening to all of that is keeping silence make you an accomplished. How you say that? An accomplished?
Accomplice.
An accomplice. Thank you, of the crime. So don't remain silent. If you see something wrong, reach out. Bark, Inspector Bark Darcy is a good place to go first, and let people know what is the abuse you're witnessing in your surroundings. So don't remain silent. Say something.
Very good.
Tell thing. That's my take on this show.
And my take on the show is we all can do something. We all can do a little bit. There is nobody that says, "Oh, I just can't do anything." It's not about money. It's about caring enough to recognize that there's a problem. If you see something, say something. If you are somewhere, don't just take a picture. Don't just take a video and then post it all over and expect people to do something about it. You're right there. For God's sake, do something about it. Darcy, I'm sure, gets calls constantly. This dog is being abused. This is happening. That's happening. She's not a animal control officer. She's not going to go out there and do anything, but what she is doing is she's saying, aha, I have the evidence now. Here it is. I'm going to let people know about it. So when you do read something about it, and you may read Darcy's name, and and somebody may say something derogatory, look beyond that, because what they're really doing is trying to shut her up so that she won't say anything anymore. But we need more people that are willing to have those arrows in their back and come forward and say, I see it and I'm willing to do something about it. So if we do support her in this movement, I think we'll all be very, very pleased. Okay, that's my end of the take on what you've done today. And Darcy, we're here to support you in any way possible. And hopefully you'll get that show. You'll get that sponsor,
I'd love
and
that.
we'll be right there with you.
Thank you all. Thank you, and thank your followers. And I agree. If you see something, say something. If you know something, say something. Do it for these animals because they do
Bark
not
about it.
for themselves. Bark about it. I love that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
bark about it. Yeah, that's right.
We can sell T-shirts. I see
Bark
something,
about
I
it.
bark about it.
I love that.
There you go.
Very good. Excellent. Excellent.
Oh, okay, you guys. Great show. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank
We'll
you,
see you
Darcy.
next week.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Kathy.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Roman.
Nice
Okay.
meeting you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.